Hello and welcome back to AW Toolbox. In this video, we're taking our What's New in 24.12 a little bit further, and we're going to look at a couple more enhancements to the toolbars, as well as dive into columns and some quick command hits. So a couple of things that we didn't quite get to in the previous video on the toolbars is if we do a search in our environment and pull up some realistic data. Let's do a search for an assembly we have. This is a assembly in the system or a component in the system that represents a full assembly. It's called this grinding custom assembly. And if we open this up, you'll see that the toolbar will reflect the changes to what we have selected. So if we pick this, the toolbar up at the top will say that this is the grinding custom toolbar. So one of the things that is just a little bit different here is if you have this opened up and you've shrunk the screen down a bunch, then what you're going to see is a more button pop up on the left hand side and things start shrinking down. See this little more button here? With the global revision rules and whatnot. So Siemens has added the ability to fly this out so that you can see all of your options pretty quickly. So this is a nice little enhancement to the toolbar here. The other thing that you can do is come across the top and see that commands to interact with this have been optimized for you just a little bit more. So if I select a component here, let's say this component down below, and I wanted to submit this to a workflow or do something very common, in 23.12, Siemens had went through the effort of making everything available in this little ... menu in the top right. So in 24.06, a new addition has been added where you can right-click the object, and a few additional commands have been added right here. So you can right-click and check out, right-click and submit to workflow, revise, or save as without the need to go all the way across the page and access this. In addition to that, depending on where you're accessing the data, you can select data inside of a table, go to this and check it out right here from the menu, rather than having to go up to the object itself, which gives you a little bit more control here. And then you can also see that that more option in the toolbar is also available here, where you can expand the header here at the top of Active Workspace. So there are just a couple of different things that have been added there to give you a little easier clickage on the objects themselves. Now, a big enhancement that's been made is to the columns that you see across a table or a tree display. So in addition to the overall UI changes and easeability of use changes, you can rearrange these columns just like you did in the past. But the big difference will come when you're interacting with that arrange element. So if I click this gear in the top right of the table and choose arrange, then we get our little arrange panel, which we can expand now. And in here, you can see all of your options. Now in 23.12, it showed us the ability to click more columns and add additional columns on the object type. So this is really nice. But in 24.12, they've given us the ability to drag and drop these columns on the right-hand side and rearrange them via this mechanism. So this is really nice, as I can just drag and drop as needed, and I can save and arrange or choose to save this as a new arrangement. And then it'll arrange it automatically for us. If I go back into the arrange, you can see that this key column arrangements up at the top here is going to save that default copy arrangement, and any other arrangements will be here, and I can still close those out if need be. So another thing that they've done in the arrange columns is, in addition to dragging and dropping these columns to reorder them, you can select them and you can still move them up or down in the list. But the columns themselves are a little bit more stable with regards to dynamic compound properties, or properties that traverse relationships to pull their data. So if we have columns exposed and we go in to filter them sort them, etc., or we try and do a share and export of these. So export them if we have the requirements management client piece out. Those dynamic compound properties will come out in the export. They will be sortable and filterable as they were not in previous versions of the software. So just a couple of different changes here with the column arrangements themselves and the UI. But in addition to those, one additional thing with the column is when you come into the arrange, there will be a show common properties up here that'll show you only the common properties between the objects displayed. And then there will be a load option for changes that are made to the elements themselves. So it used to have a reset. Now there'll be a kind of configure loaded columns or reload columns option to get those columns to show up.